The run that Palantir has been on over the last 6 months since the beginning of this year has been so ridiculous. But is Palantir still a buy right now, or would I consider it to be a hold, or would I consider selling shares right now? That's what we're going to talk about in this video here today. But first, I'm Austin. If you're new here, I'm a co-owner of cloudmusicsuite.com, and I'm a stock market investor. And most importantly, I am a proud shareholder of Palantir. Many shares in my bag. The channel's sitting somewhere around 400 subscribers right now. I'm not sure where it's going to be when we post this video. If you're one of those people, thank you so much for being here. If you're not one of those people, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That is a thank you for doing that. Here's a picture of both my cats, Millie and Luna. Millie's the gray one and Luna is the brown one. Okay, let's get into this. Palantir. Let me get this out of the way first. I am a Palantir shareholder, so I am inherently biased. But Palantir, this is ticker PLTR on the stock market. This is a stock I've been buying for more than 2 years now, and I'm a proud shareholder. I don't regret a single share that I bought. Do I wish I would have gotten slightly lower pricing on some of them? Yes, sure, but I've still made an amazing gain on the shares I do have. If you've never heard of Palantir before, they're a software company that's all around data aggregation, data integration, decision making, and artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence has been the big topic of conversation throughout 2023 so far. That's one of the many reasons that Palantir has been getting a lot of respect in the market. A lot of people think that's the only reason. It's not even close, guys. It's not even close to the only reason, and I don't even think it's the biggest reason. So I'm going to talk about all the reasons that Palantir is still probably a good buy right now. And then at the end of the video, I'll let you know what I'm doing with my shares. So the first reason that Palantir is looking juicy right now is because they have just turned the profitability corner. This company was a money loser in terms of GAAP profits. That's generally accepted accounting principles. That's GAAP profit. That's like the holy grail of metrics as it relates to profits. Palantir has now had 2 quarters in a row, Q4 of 2022 and Q1 of 2023, where they posted a profit. That's huge for the company, and it's huge for investor sentiment because a ton of investors will never, ever consider a company if they have losses on the bottom line. People love profits because they de-risk the company in a massive way. So that's the biggest reason that Palantir has gone on a run, because not only did they post those 2 quarters of profits, the CEO, Alex Karp, also said that they're going to go ahead and be profitable for all of the rest of 2023. And then there was actually an interview where he said they're going to be profitable forever. That was another catalyst to move the stock up in the short term. To be profitable for a short period of time and then go back to being unprofitable, that's really not what we want to hear about. So hearing him say it's not just 2023 we're going to be profitable for, it's pretty much all quarters from here on out, barring some random unforeseen circumstance like a black swan event, we're definitely going to be profitable. That's the biggest reason that Palantir has been moving up, and one of the biggest catalysts for people to be buying the stock right now, even though it's gone on a 130+% run. What this leads to over time is that if Palantir, since their market cap's already around 32 billion, if Palantir keeps on posting profit after profit after profit, quarter in and quarter out, once they get to 4 consecutive quarters in a row of profit, they are eligible. At least they're going to be in conversations for index inclusion. And with their market cap being 32 billion, the most likely index that they get included to is the S&P 500. And that's the big dog of all the indexes. That's the 500 biggest companies in the US that are profitable. Index inclusion is no joke. It's going to put a nice floor underneath Palantir. It's going to turn it into a little bit less of a high beta company and kind of stabilize the stock price just a little bit. And then a lot of people don't even invest in companies outside of the S&P 500. And then of course, as you know, a ton of people are index fund investors and they only buy the S&P 500. So all these index funds that track the S&P 500, they are now required to go out and buy Palantir shares once Palantir is included into the S&P 500, which I do see coming over the next 3 to 5 quarters. If this gets announced in the next 3 to 5 quarters, do not be surprised if you see a 15 to 25% run up in the share price of Palantir once that gets announced, and then a lot of excitement over the next few days, and then excitement will kind of settle out as people kind of forget about the news and something else takes the headline. Another reason to potentially buy this company right now is that we're probably about to go through the biggest AI super cycle that we've ever seen, almost akin to the internet, okay? Just like when the internet was booming, internet stocks were going to the moon, there were some huge winners that came out on the other side like Amazon and Microsoft, and then there were some huge losers like pets.com. The losers in the tech bubble were companies that were not even selling any products. They were pre-revenue companies. They really weren't companies at all. They were just tickers on a screen that were moving up with all the hype of internet stocks. Some stocks like Amazon and Microsoft, like I said, were absolute beast companies, and then they fell still like 90% after this big tech bust. Do I see the same thing on the horizon for AI? No, I don't. I do see some run-ups and then falling down, and some run-ups and then fall down. That's normal with any new technology. And of course, there's gonna be tons of people that say, oh, AI is just hype, it's not real, it's not even gonna lead to profits at all. Okay, there's always gonna be people that say that. There's going to be companies that win. Palantir is going to be one of those companies that wins, in my opinion. Microsoft is going to be one of those companies that wins, in my opinion. Nvidia is going to be one of those companies that wins. C3 AI and some other companies like that, I don't think are going to be winners. So that's why I'm choosing Palantir. That's why I've chosen Palantir over the last many months that I've been buying, and actually multiple years that I've been buying. The use cases for AI are just going to grow and grow as the products get better and better, and there's more real world adoption of AI. We're already seeing it throughout 2023. It's only going to get more crazy as we move through the next few quarters and few years. But this is not just the private side, but this is also the government side. So Palantir kind of works in two areas. And this is another catalyst, another thing I think Palantir can put in their cap. They have the government revenue where they get these massive government contracts that are years and years and years long for hundreds of millions of dollars. Government revenue is extremely stable. Defense revenue is extremely stable, okay? So when we're having these government contracts, this kind of stabilizes the company's revenues, stabilizes the company's earnings, and then they have this insane expansion opportunity in the private sector. They're growing their private sector total number of clients and total sales volume by some insane percentages quarter in and quarter out, and I actually see an acceleration of growth happening in the commercial side rather than the opposite. Typically, we see business segments of companies kind of slow down over time. When they first introduce a new product or a new business segment, there's big excitement, and slowly over time it goes from 100% growth to 80% growth to 70 to 50 to 30 to 20 down to 5. That's why we see someone like JP Morgan or someone like Microsoft or someone like ExxonMobil, these insanely massive companies. Are they growing revenues 25% a quarter? No, because they've been doing business in the same way, in the same space for so long. It's just very, very difficult for them to grow revenues at that clip, right? But I see the opposite with Palantir on this commercial business. I see the commercial side of the business still on the up cycle, still on the expansion cycle, and they're actually going to grow customer count more than they have been in past quarters. They're going to grow revenue from these private clients more than they have in past quarters, and the private sector, the commercial, the business to business side is absolutely going to be the thing that gets them to the promised land. But Palantir is always going to have the government revenue to kind of fall back on, because they started as a government contractor. The government loves them. They award them these insanely high dollar, very long length of time contracts that are very sticky and very, very, very stable. Palantir's product being sticky is probably one of the best things it has for it. When we look at a company like Microsoft, who's also heavily in the business to business and in the government business, if Palantir can bring you an extra $50 million of revenue each and every year, and you're paying them $40 million a year for their product, that $10 million of net gain is no joke. And it's really hard to justify, especially as a public company, to go ahead and go off of Palantir and lose that extra $10 million of incremental income. So their products are extremely sticky, and it's going to be hard for a company to get off Palantir because they see the immense amount of value that Palantir brings to their enterprise. When you've got a company and a potential to buy a company at a relatively low valuation that has a best of breed product like Palantir, you really should not pass up on that opportunity. Palantir's products are the best at what they do. There are tons and tons of anecdotes and testimonials around Palantir's product that says this thing is literally the best in the business, and there's no one close. I hear people talk about Intel, I hear people talk about Snowflake as competitors. Dude, it's not even close as it relates to the product that you're getting for the money that you're spending. Palantir is far ahead of their competitors, and they're hiring absolutely the best engineers in the world to work at their company. People who can't get in at Palantir are going to FANG companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, etc. They have the most rigorous hiring process. I know, because I know people who have gone through that hiring process. It is no joke. They are truly looking for the best engineers in the world to work on their product. So not only are they the best right now, but they're going to be the best for years to come in the future. Palantir, just like many other software companies, is extremely asset light, and their gross profit margin is absolutely ridiculous at about a 78% profit margin. This is a similar profit margin to companies like Adobe, ServiceNow, and Salesforce, which are all software beasts. Now the big opportunity as it relates to margins for Palantir is that net profit margin, and that relates to earnings per share in a massive way and net income in a massive way. So if they can grow that net margin 1%, 2%, 3% per quarter as we move through the next few quarters, we're going to see insane amounts of money hitting the bottom line. This company is already free cash flow positive and has been for many quarters. So as they continue to scale revenue and as they continue to get their spending under control and prioritize profitability, we're going to see insane profits for Palantir, given the fact that their gross margins are already ridiculous. They can get those net margins to a great spot as well. Last reasons to buy Palantir, all around the numbers and all around the financials. So when we look at the forward PE on Palantir, this is from analysts' best estimate on earnings for the next 12 months. It's sitting at about a 70, somewhere around a 70. For a company who is just now turning that profitability corner, to see only a 70 for that forward PE is actually ridiculous. When a company like Tesla was in this same spot, turning a profit and kind of going from net losses to net gains on the bottom line, we actually saw like a 5K. So as we relate Palantir to Tesla, at the same stage of profitability, they're looking way cheaper on that price to earnings ratio when we look on a forward basis. The price to sales of Palantir right now is high at around a 16, but it's not all that much higher than Microsoft, which is around a 12, with way less growth for Microsoft, obviously very much different stages of their business. But interestingly, the price to book ratio of Palantir is actually cheaper than the price to book of Microsoft. We love to see that. One last thing I want to look at that lets you know that this company is in an amazing spot. Just as Peter Lynch says, no investment decision is complete until I have taken a quick look at the balance sheet. The balance sheet for Palantir is pristine, and I mean pristine. Current assets of $3.2 billion, and then when we look at current liabilities, $600,000, and most of that is deferred revenue. There's a very small amount of capital lease obligation, which is literally just rent for their offices. And then we have some payables and accrued expenses. When we look at the total non-current liabilities, $278 million as opposed to $3.2 billion of current assets. That is the most ridiculous balance sheet I've seen, I think, my whole life. The long-term debt that they have isn't even long-term debt. It's actually long-term capital lease obligation. Like I said, that's just rent for their offices that they hold. And then they've got a very small amount of deferred revenue. So I can sleep really well at night knowing that Palantir has a 0% risk of bankruptcy. There is no chance that they're going to go under because they could pay off all of their debt, including long-term capital lease, short-term capital lease, and all other liabilities today with the cash they have on hand today. Are they going to do that? No, that doesn't even make sense. They're going to use that cash to invest back into the business, to grow the business into a massive growth beast, and go ahead and expand their company so that they can take more and more market share in the AI space, in the data aggregation space, in the data integration space, decision-making space, etc. So what am I doing with my Palantir shares right now? I am not selling a single share. Yes, I have a very nice gain on my shares, but I will not be selling. That said, I personally am done buying. Am I done buying because I think the stock has run too far? No, not necessarily. I'm actually done buying because I hit and I actually exceeded my share goal for Palantir. My share goal for Palantir, I went about 10% more than I had initially planned to buy for Palantir because I saw so much potential. It's a very large position in my portfolio now. The number of shares I have right now is what I'm comfortable with, and I'm going to go ahead and hold those shares for years and years and years to go in the future. Is it possible that I'm a buyer of Palantir again in the future? Yes, but I'd have to see a little bit of a drop in the share price for me to be motivated to go out and buy more shares. Also, as my accounts grow bigger and bigger over time, the percentage of Palantir, assuming we don't have a massive run up again, the percentage allocation of Palantir in my accounts specifically will drop a little bit, and then I'd be more interested in picking up more shares as I get back to that kind of percent allocation goal for Palantir as it relates to my whole portfolio. I want to know what you're doing with Palantir shares. Are you looking to be a buyer? Are you just holding? Are you selling? Are you shorting the stock? Do you think Palantir is the best company in the world, worst company in the world, somewhere in between? I want to hear about it. Let me know in the comments. I appreciate you. Thank you so much and have a good day.